So can you upgrade or can you retrofit an existing landscape lighting system? You have an old halogen system that's 20 years old, but you want to retrofit it to LED. Typically, yes, you can. If you've had a system that's been professionally installed by a contractor, then more than likely you have lights that are going to be have the ability to be upgraded and retrofitted to an LED system. If it's a cheaper system from from one of the big box stores, you may not be able to, but even in a lot of cases there you can. And really all you need to know is what kind of bulbs that you have inside each of those fixtures. Now with most uplights and accent lights and lights like this, you're going to find they have a light called an Mr16 bulb, and an Mr16 bulb is just something like this with two prongs on the bottom, and typically you can go and you can just pop out the old halogen bulb and replace it with an LED one. And same thing on a lot of the path lights. Path lights are a little bit trickier. There's a couple different inserts that will fit into them. Most of them will be something like this. It will be a G4 bipin, and again, all you have to do is take out the old bulb and replace it with one of these. And if you had a halogen system and you want to retrofit it to LED, well then you definitely don't have to worry about voltage dropping, or you're going to have enough power on the system to run the LED, because it's going to use actually a lot less power than the halogen one. So what you'll probably find is you've got a super oversized transformer, but now you've got lights in your system that are going to last you for 10, 15 years or longer, and more than likely your fixture is going to die before the actual bulb will. So you can do that. And then another thing I just want to mention with the bulbs is, especially if you're a DIY guy and you're going and putting in your own landscape lighting system, the reason I like going with a fixture like this one that has a drop-in bulb, and what that means is that you can actually go and interchange the bulbs in there, as opposed to what they'll call an integrated fixture where there's like a board, LED board built right in, is with one of those, if that board goes, you have to replace the fixture. You can't just replace the light. And also, if you don't do a lot of systems and you don't know what the lights are going to look like, you might go buy one of those and find out, well, that light's not bright enough. Well, you can't just go replace that board in most cases. You got to go and take that light out and you got to go replace it with something else. When you have a good system like this, that you can actually go and interchange different bulbs, well, then you can go and play around a little bit. And that's why we recommend it for any DIY guys to go and do this, because if you put a light in and you find it's not quite bright enough, well, you can go and get a brighter bulb. Now, usually you can find that information on the side of the box. You'll find it'll tell you the wattage, and it'll usually tell you the halogen equivalent of that. So, a standard uplight is going to be a 20 watt equivalent bulb is what they call it, which will roughly be around 4 watts. If you need something brighter, well, then you go into a 35 watt equivalent or a 50 watt equivalent. And how to know how bright your bulb is there's 3 things you want to look at. You want to know the wattage of that, because one, that's how you're going to size your transformer. You're going to want to know how many lumens that puts out, so that's the brightness of it. So a standard 20 watt equivalent bulb is typically going to put out about 250 lumens, somewhere in there. And the other thing you're going to want to know is the color temperature. So a lot of times with LED, people will ask, well, is it that bright white LED light you see? And typically it's not, but how you can tell is if you look at the Kelvin temperature, which is the color temperature. It's usually going to give you a number somewhere between 2700 and 3000 Kelvin or 3000 K. That means that's that warm, soft yellow light that you're used to seeing. The higher that number is, the whiter that light gets. So if you see something that says 4000 K, well, that's going to be that bright white LED that you're used to seeing. But if you're getting anything that's 2700 to 3000 Kelvin, that's your warm white color, they call it. Different manufacturers will call it different things, but 2700 to 3000 is kind of where you want to be if you want that nice soft yellow light. And then the only other thing that you can play with too that we often recommend is the beam angle. So a standard bulb is usually going to have about a 35 to 38 degree beam spread, but say you're lighting up a flagpole, well, you don't need the light to spread that wide. You want to narrow that down a bit. So that's where you might look at something like a 10 degree spread, or say you're lighting up a tree that's a little bit wider and you want something a little bit broader angle, then you can get up to a 60 degree. And then there's different lights if you want to get wider than that. But that's the beauty of having a system like this that you can go and interchange those bulbs is you can play around with different bulbs, you can play around with different color temperatures, you can play around with different angles, brightnesses, all that kind of stuff until you get the exact look that you're looking for. So I would recommend, especially if you're a DIY guy, for the time being, stay away from the integrated fixtures and try and go get a good quality, whether it's a halogen fixture or an LED compatible fixture, that you can go and try different bulbs. But by all means, if you're not sure, email us, get your free consultation. We can help you with that design too.